Hello friends, and welcome to Abe's Music School episode 9. So today I'm gonna talk a little bit about music theory. Then I'll play a song. We have the white notes on the piano, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, and back. But start on the C instead, we get C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's called a major scale, C major scale. If we look on the screen here it starts on C. That's called Ionian mode. So what's a mode? Well, that's something that came up in the Middle Ages. So that's another name for the major scale. That's Ionian mode. Dorian is if you start on the second tone. So instead of C, you start on D. Or if you start on E, you get the Phrygian scale. I can start one octave below. It sounds kind of cool, so this can be useful. Instead of just minor or major, you can use this, for instance, in Spanish music. Right? Then you have Lydian mode, Mixolydian, and Aeolian mode. And what is Aeolian? Well, that's when you start on A. That's A minor scale. So that's also called the Aeolian mode. So those are the two most important. Minor and major. Minor is Aeolian, major is Ionian. So let's look at the screen here. If you look at the map of ancient Greece, which is modern day Turkey or Turkey, you have Aeolis or Aeolia, and just below it you have Ionia. Yeah, and those are the regions where this were named. To the right, to the east, you have Phrygia and Lydia. Yeah, right, take a look at the names. Both Phrygia and Lydia were also modes, so they are named after these regions in ancient Greece, modern day Turkey. So today I'm gonna use major instead of minor. If I'm on a C, we can call that the first note. And then I just count up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here the fourth note. 5. Here the fifth note. And as we know since before, this is always the interval between the first and the fifth note. And each note has one chord associated with it. So C has the C major chord. Here, the fourth note is an F, so it has the F major chord. And G has a G associated to it. And back to C. So those three are the most important chords. The chord number 1, number 4, and number 5. And you sometimes you see them with Roman numerals. You can also play the other chords that are not 1, 4, or 5, but those are the three most important. So the root note, it's called a tonic. The fourth is called a subdominant, and the fifth is called a dominant. And as you hear when you play the dominant, it kind of leads you back, it creates tension. You want to go back to the tonic, to the first note. And you can increase this tension, make it stronger instead by playing a normal G. You can add the seventh note to the G, then it becomes a G7. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's an F. So I could play. Now I added the seventh note, or I can add the seventh note over here. But by introducing this seventh note, you increase the tension that wants to go back to the tonic. Alright, so and now the seventh. Sounds pretty nice. And this is basic music theory. So there's tonic, subdominant, and dominant 7. back to tonic. Alright, so it's not that hard, it's just that it's new terms that you might not have heard before, like a tonic, subdominant and dominant. And if you add the seventh to the dominant to increase the tension to lead back into the tonic, it's called the dominant seventh chord. This leading back from another chord back to the first, it's called the cadence. So this specific cadence from, in this case, G7 back to C, that's called a perfect cadence or an authentic cadence. You can also go from the fourth chord back to the tonic C, then that's called a plagal cadence. So a perfect cadence is more normally used, but the plagal cadence sounds more church-like or sometimes used in places like church choirs like this. That's a plagal cadence. So you went back to the tonic, to the first chord from the subdominant and skipped the dominant or dominant 7. So the song I thought about is a very old song from the American Civil War. It was a guy called John Brown. So he was an abolitionist, that means he wanted to abolish slavery. And then it became a war, and this guy, John Brown, died early in the war, and he became kind of a martyr. And even during the war, the Union soldiers up in the north started to sing songs about him, in particular this song, the John Brown's Body, or Glory, Glory, Hallelujah. And this song was later rewritten with the new lyrics into Battle Hymn of the Republic, which is very known. But what was actually sung during the Civil War was John Brown's Body. So if I play the first verse here, it's C, it's F, goes back to C, stays on C, goes to F, and then we have the perfect cadence, G7, back to C. Let's see if I remember the melody. John Brown's body lies a mouldering in the grave. John Brown's body lies a mouldering in the grave. Though he sleeps, his life was lost while struggling for the slaves. His soul is marching on. So we could try it without the perfect cadence, with the plagal cadence instead. Let's try the last two lines. But though he sleeps, his life was lost while struggling for the slave. His soul is marching on. You get a resolution there too, but this resolution is more mild and more church-like. So it's more commonly used in church chants, like Gregorian chants and stuff like that. This plagal cadence. And this is the normal or authentic or the perfect cadence. Alright, so now I'll do a quick recording of this song using Logic Pro, my DAW. So in the arrangement I had slowly build up with just one note in the beginning, the C. John Brown's body lies a mouldering in the grave. John Brown's body lies a mouldering in the grave. So only play one note like this. It's called on French bourdon note, or in English a drone note. And then at some point I switch over from playing only the one note, the drone note, to playing the actual chords, and that creates some dynamics. I move on from the bourdon.
John Brown's body lies a mouldering in the grave. John Brown's body lies a mouldering in the grave. But though he sleeps, his life was lost while struggling for the slaves. His soul is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Brown died that the slave be free, but his soul goes marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. But his soul goes marching on.
This was the first tonic, the fourth, subdominant, and the fifth, the dominant. Why don't you go and experiment writing your own song using these chords? And you have probably heard hundreds of songs already that uses these chords. I'll see you next time.